Hey everyone, so this is going to be the 5 random facts video. I actually have 6 of them, so yeah, whatever. I'm just really weird. I could keep thinking of things to tell you guys for days, but I already know this is going to be a long video because I like to tell stories. I feel like if I didn't tell stories about the 5 random facts, you would just think I was a weirdo. But this one has also been quite requested. Nobody tagged me. Nobody tags me in anything, but that's okay. I do have somebody that I want to tag, and I'm going to say who it is now because many of you are not going to last to the end of the video. I want to tag Miss Gold Girl or Marnie, somebody that I recommended in my September favorites, and I would love to hear what her 5 random facts are. I'm sure they're probably really cool. I think she's awesome. But anyway, so my 5 random facts. First one is going to be beauty related. And I don't know if you guys are going to believe me, but I've never lied to you before. So I don't own any MAC brushes, and I don't own any MAC eyeshadows. Not a single one to my name of those things. Now, I've worked with MAC brushes before, and I've definitely worked with MAC eyeshadows before. I used to do wedding makeup with a like a hair and makeup group, and we definitely had the diva brides and even bridesmaids that were like, I don't want anything on my face that's not MAC. So we had we all had our own personal kits, and then the owner had like her MAC kit where everything was MAC in case we got one of those divas. Yeah, I've worked with them. I'm very familiar with them, the textures and the names of the brushes or the numbers. But I just haven't bought any. When I got into makeup, I didn't have YouTube like holding my hand. I know it's hard probably for some of you guys that have grown up with YouTube or at least the internet at your disposal to learn about makeup, but you know, 10 years ago, I just was wandering. I didn't even have a Sephora near me, and no like freestanding MAC stores. It was just like MAC in department stores, and the women were really intimidating, and that's still true today. I don't know why. They need sensitivity training. But I was really intimidated and overwhelmed with all the color selection, and the women weren't nice and helpful. So I remember the first thing I ever bought, I think, was a MAC lip gloss in like lychee something, I don't know, but I didn't like it, so I stopped using it. I will buy MAC eyeshadows at some point. There are ones that I definitely have my eye on. MAC brushes, sure. I mean, I guess if I find that they're needed in my collection, I've done well so far without them, so who knows, but I'll be sure to share whenever I get my first eyeshadow and my first brush. So there you go. My second fact is that I'm obsessed with Egypt. I've never been to Egypt. I'm not from Egypt. I don't know why, but I just love all things Egyptian. I will say that when I go to Egypt, I can die in peace. So that's like one of my dreams. Although I am claustrophobic and I don't know how I feel. When I was younger, I was a lot more brave, but I don't know how I feel about going to the pyramids. But I have a necklace. Here. My mom went back to Saudi Arabia a couple years ago. No, it's more than that. A few years ago now. And she got me a necklace that has a little pharaoh head on it, and I love this. And it's the same necklace that has my evil eye on it. Like, I put these two together. By the way, an evil eye doesn't mean that the eye is evil. It means it wards off evil. It's just called an evil eye. Whenever I tell people that, they're like, why would you wear something evil around your neck? It's not that it's evil. So I wear these together, but I just love my little pharaoh. Isn't he adorable? But yeah. I also collect, like, Egyptian stuff. Like, how weird am I? Like, this I got randomly in, like, some, like, antique store or something. It's not antique. It was, like, 20 bucks. It's not real. It's not really from Egypt. But, this in college was on my nightstand, and now it's on my dresser. Like, it's some important piece of art. It's not. And then I have so much stuff at my parents' that I didn't even bring over. I have, like, little, like, pharaoh heads, but I bought, like, 3 or 4 of them. Like, I don't know what you do with them, and they were all like smushed and squished, but I was like, I have to have these. They're Egyptian. When we were little, we had a lot of like Egyptian art around our home, but we had a lot of art or like a lot of antiques or pieces from all over the world. For whatever reason, I gravitated towards the Egyptian stuff, and now I'm obsessed. So I love Egyptian stuff. Okay, so the next fact is that I'm lumping them into one because it's the same idea, but it's about vampires and serial killers. Those are both things that I think were like weird to be into maybe like 10 years ago, and now they're a part of pop culture. So I'll talk about serial killers first. My fascination with serial killers, I think, no, I know it truly has the motive of self-preservation. So when I was younger, I was really into like reading about crimes and serial killers, especially because they're such an enigma. They really are. But I thought that if the more that I knew, the more that I would be able to protect myself, which is not necessarily true. Because I thought, oh, maybe if I knew about them and understood how their minds worked, that I would be able to pick one out in a crowd and always, you know, keep myself safe. And that's obviously not true, because even psychologists can't understand or predict when somebody's going to be a serial killer. Although there are factors, that doesn't always necessarily mean somebody is going to end up being a serial killer. So all that knowledge has done is made me super paranoid. And now it's popular in pop culture because everyone loves Dexter. I love Dexter. I watch Dexter very religiously. I don't know. I just, to me, it was like weird. I would have never like confessed to people that I liked reading about serial killers, and now it's like the cool thing to watch on TV. I don't know. The other thing is vampires. I got into vampires. I don't even know how. I'm not entirely sure. But I do remember one day I was sick, and when we were sick in our household, we were like quarantined away from everybody else because we have a family of 6. So the less people that got sick, the better. And I was like, you know, sleeping in the living room with my mom, and I was supposed to be asleep, and she was watching Nosferatu. And I remember peeking over her shoulder when I shouldn't have been, and I was really young, probably 7 or 8 years old. And I think that that's where it might have started, because I was so fascinated. If you've never seen Nosferatu, it's like the black and white, like old school. And I think that might have had something to do with it. In high school, I found the original Dracula's biography, Vlad Tepes, or Tepish. I've heard it pronounced both ways. I read it over and over and over again without checking out from the library because I didn't want like to be flagged, because I was only like 14 years old. And in one of my papers, like one of my final papers in college for my literature in the occult class, I remember doing a like compare contrast between Dracula the book and Vlad, you know, the Romanian ruler. And I just really, really got immersed into it. I watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I've seen every good and bad vampire Dracula movie under the sun. I even like read about the female Dracula, Elizabeth Bathory, and her sick pastime. But I don't know, I've always been, again, from a psychological perspective, I've always been fascinated by that. And to see these things that I've always liked now be portrayed as glittery and sweet, and they have human girlfriends, I don't know how I feel about that. That's just not the idea that I had in my head. I like things like 30 Days of Night, where like the vampires are like ferocious, because that's the way that I've always seen them. I've always seen them as scary things, and now they're being tamed and domesticated. But I guess I mean, they're not real. You can make them be whatever you want them to be. I've just always thought they were scary, and they should stay that way. Okay, next fact. I'm obsessed with pens. I have a pen thing. I think everything I've mentioned is a thing. I have an obsession or a thing, but I don't know how to explain it. I don't think I need help for it, or else I would have sought it out already. But I think that when I wrote this fact down, like, oh, let me write down what my 5 random facts are, I wrote it down, and I was like, what? How does this even start? And I remember in the 3rd grade, I had these pens that were, my dad, like, we had moved to America from Saudi Arabia in 1992, so I hadn't even been in America for like a year and a half, maybe. And I was in the 3rd grade, and my dad had like, and the whole bajillion things my dad has brought over, he brought over like pens, and they were like really distinctive. I've not ever seen them since we've been here, and I think they were like the kind that you make like for your company, so that's why they were so unique. But one of my classmates, her name was Brittany, stole my pen, and it was gold, and it had like dual, like blue and red, and I was like, give me my pen, like that's my pen. And she refused to, and that's when I got mad. And I remember telling the teacher on her, and the teacher was like, realistically, how can I believe that it's your pen? So I was like, I'll prove it. I will prove those are my pens. And I remember I brought more of the same pens from my dad. There were like silver ones, and I brought more gold ones to prove it, and I got my pen back. And then ever since then, I've been really possessive about my pens. I don't like when people borrow my pens and don't return them. I'm very fickle about like my writing utensil. I judge people by the pens that they use. I'm sorry, I am judgmental in that fashion. Yeah, so I guess that's where it all began, because I can't remember a time before that when it's affected me. Isn't it funny how all things in your childhood like affect the way that you are as an adult? It's so true. If you stop to think about like your most traumatic or emotional experiences, it explains why you are the way you are today. Very scary. So there's this huge, for those of you who are into pens, for those of you who are not, you don't know that this like little contest goes on, or war, should I say. But there are ballpoint people and there are gel people. And I'm a gel person. I like my gel pens. And we don't get ballpoint people. But I do have a favorite ballpoint pen, because sometimes they do come in handy, because when you don't want it to like leak through your papers, you can never guarantee that a gel won't do that through at least some certain papers. This is for all you who do have a pen obsession like me. I'm going to tell you my favorite gel and my favorite ballpoint. I feel like I'm doing like makeup. Like, this is my favorite pen ever. Do you want me to swatch it for you? It's Cello Smooth. I don't even know where I got this. See, I am a kleptomaniac with pens. If I find a pen that I like, when I was little, I probably would have straight up stole it. But now I would say, like, can I have this pen? Or at least write it down and look it up. So I need to look up where you can get these. It's Cello Smooth, and it's like a really smooth ballpoint pen. And my favorite gel pen right now is really, really cheap, actually. You can get a 12-pack of these for like $4 or $5 at Staples, and it's the 0.7 millimeter, and it is like jelly and runny, but the only thing I don't like is that it has a cap. I prefer clicky, because I leave these open all the time, and then they like get all over my arms and my clothes, and that's not good. But this is my favorite right now. The most expensive single pen that I've ever bought was a $15, what they call a space pen, which writes in like extreme temperatures. So like in really hot temperatures and really cold temperatures, it writes like upside down. It can be taken into space and it won't explode. I don't know why. Maybe I thought I was going to be abducted by aliens for some of my obsessions, but I had a space pen. I let Jason borrow it, and he lost it. This was like a couple of months ago, so I won't be buying one again and telling him. That's just something I have to buy and keep as a secret. Although I don't encourage keeping secrets in your relationship, this one's harmless. He doesn't watch my videos. Well, not like 10 minutes into them. Anyway, so that's my pen obsession. What are we on? The fifth one? The fifth one. The fifth thing about me, fifth random fact, is when I was little, I took Taekwondo and Kung Fu, and then a couple years ago, like in 2008, I took boxing. So, again, this is like a childhood thing, affects you as an adult. When I was little, me and my sister, my dad, I remember, had said, I have one sister and two brothers, so there's 2 boys, 2 girls, which is perfect, right? So my dad was like, it's time for you guys to get into sports. Why don't you guys think about like what do you want to participate in, and we'll like get you guys enrolled. So my first choice with my sister was ballet. Like, all of our girlfriends did ballet, and we're like, we want to do ballet. And I remember presenting to my dad, and my dad was like, oh, what? That's so useless. And we were like, what do you mean? Like, we're children. What? We just want to have fun. So he shot down our idea. My dad's really, really strict, though. Like, really, really strict. Like, whatever he says goes. He's the man of the house, made all the decisions. That's just, I don't know, the type of family. It's the culture of Saudi Arabia. So, then my brothers were like, you know, doing their own scheming, and they came up with karate. And they got to present their idea while me and my sister were thinking about our second option. And my dad, like, loved it. He was like, oh, that's a brilliant idea. And here we are thinking they'd say, like, soccer or football, like something we couldn't do. So our second choice was cheerleading, because it was like Safety Harbor cheerleading. I remember the exact magazine we were looking in. I told my dad about cheerleading, and he was like, you're not going to be running around in short skirts and screaming about nothing. So we were like, fine. Like, what do you expect us to do? And he said, well, your brothers had a great idea. What about martial arts? And we were like, no, we're not into that. Like, they were into martial arts because, like, Power Rangers were huge, and they loved their superhero shows, and everybody could kick ass on them. And we were not interested at all. We were like, please, can we just do, like, ballet or cheerleading? We're girls. And his response to us was, so if somebody attacks you, what are you going to do? Dance for them? And at my age, that meant nothing to me. Who was going to attack me? Like, I thought we were just talking about sports, Dad. Oh, so now you know where I get my paranoia from, right? From my dad? Okay. So the ballet cheerleader thing was out the window, and we were immediately enrolled in Taekwondo. We did that for a long, long time, years. And then after that, once we got to the end of our rope with that, we started doing Kung Fu. And then a couple years ago, when I wanted to get into a sport, I even though I love yoga, I love Pilates, I can get into sports and I can learn them really quickly. I automatically gravitated to a fighting sport. That's just what I did when I was little, and that's what I knew I would enjoy as an adult. So I signed up for boxing, and I did that in the hot summer months of Florida. You know the heat index here is like 100-something degrees if it's not like literally 100 degrees outside. And I did it May through August, and it was like in a garage that had no air conditioning. We spent a lot of time working out outside, and I did it like 3 or 4 times a week, and it was a lot of fun. And I stopped doing it because a couple of reasons. It is really expensive. It's like $100 a month, which is really expensive. Because at the end of the year, you've spent $1,200 on boxing, and I didn't want to be a professional boxer. Like, that's, if you want to be a professional boxer, that's reasonable. And they trained a lot of professional boxers, or at least people who literally like boxed for a living. But that wasn't my dream. Are you guys sick of listening to me talk yet? I feel like I've been going on and on. I'm like sick of listening to my own voice. Last fact. Okay, so I haven't been on an airplane since 1992. I know, that's crazy. People are like, what is wrong with you? Honestly, there's no reason, or no, like, weird reason, other than I just haven't made it a priority. Everywhere that I've gone, I've been able to drive. It's been either in Florida or, like, to Atlanta. I've never needed to fly anywhere. I hope that changes very soon. Because I want to go visit my sister, and she doesn't live in the state, and she doesn't live in a drivable distance. But, I know what you're thinking. I know you're thinking she's an Arab, and she just said she hasn't been on a plane since 1992. So I'm going to go ahead and make all the references that you can't make them. It's not because I'm on the no-fly list. It's not because I'm a terrorist. I know I just said terrorist, and Homeland Security is not going to be watching my videos and listening into my phone. They'll be bored once they realize all I talk about is makeup and my boyfriend. I haven't been on a plane, and it's not because I have a magic carpet or a camel that I use for transportation. I've never seen any magical carpets, and I've actually never been on a camel. Actually, a couple weekends ago, I was at the zoo, and I really wanted to go on a camel ride, but we forgot our camera. And we were just like, I can't do it. An Arab on their first camel ride, it must be documented. So I didn't do it. But maybe next time, and I will be sure to share with you guys. So there you go. I hit all the stereotypes so you guys can't. I'm ridiculous, I know. But that's it. Those are my facts. Those are the weird things about me, and if you still like me and you're still subscribed after this video, kudos to you, because I'm a weirdo. But thank you guys for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye!